It's been over a month since I last made a car review since I went to the US to run in the Chicago Marathon, and so what better way to getting back to making car reviews for you guys than to start with this, the Nissan Z Premium Automatic. Now dude pare, one look at this vehicle and I can tell you, I got the best job ever. Let's do this. It took over 10 years before the Nissan 370Z arrived in the Philippines. Thankfully, we didn't have to wait that long for the Nissan Z. This 7th Gen Z is a distillation of over 50 years of Z heritage, and it seeks to pay an homage to its forebears by incorporating retro styling cues in what is the most powerful Z generation to date. Of course, it's also the most expensive Z generation to date, with both manual and automatic transmission trims selling for 3,888,000 Philippine pesos. So what can we expect from the Nissan Z Automatic? And can it deliver the same driving thrill that you'd expect from a proper Z car? Let's find out. Here at Reagan's Rides, we do car reviews of SUVs, sports cars, trucks, and everything in between. So subscribe and hit the bell. If you were to ask me what to get, I'd still recommend getting the 6-speed manual Z over this automatic trim. You see, Nissan Philippines price both variants with the exact same price level, which means that the only difference between the two is the transmission. Now, I haven't driven a manual Z yet, but I did get to chat with a gentleman who owns a black Nissan Z with a manual transmission, and you can tell that he is extremely happy with it. Now, I only want the manual trim because of the fun and engagement that you get from rowing your own gears. It has nothing to do with the performance because, well, the new 9-speed automatic that we have here is also an eager beaver whenever you do some spirited driving. It double downshifts when needed, and it's also engaging when you pop it in manual mode and you flick those GTR Source paddle shifters. Now, the 9-speed here is also a smooth operator, which is a huge improvement over the 7-speed found in the 370Z. Just like the 370Z, this Nissan Z is also on the heavy side. It has a curb weight of over 1,600 kilos, which you will feel when you're driving around town. Now, the steering is on the heavy side, despite swapping the old hydraulic power assist system with a new electric power steering system. Now, this, my friends, drives more like a muscle car rather than a light and nimble sports car. Now, thankfully, the new 3-liter twin-turbo V6 engine we have under the hood has more than enough power to haul this heavy sports car, even if this Philippine spec Z has been detuned by a bit with only 383 PS. Now, that might be less than the US spec Z with 400 horsepower, but it is still more than 50 horses than the previous 370Z. However, the biggest star of the show is the torque delivery. You see, the Nissan Z has 475 Newton meters of maximum torque, but it comes as low as 1,600 RPM thanks to the twin turbos under the hood. Now, that gives this new Nissan Z a 0 to 100 kph time of around 4.5 seconds, which is even quicker than the V8 powered Ford Mustang. Now, the power delivery is also smooth with no turbo lag whatsoever in any part of the rev range. However, though, I have to tell you this, it can get pretty frustrating when you're driving this on the highway. We're on the highway now. Since if you're traveling at only 80 kph, pare, you feel like you're just doing 50, alright? It feels like you're going so slow. And the car is so stable at high speed with a direct and quick steering feel, and you also have those nice and big and grippy brakes that we have here. So you could really tell that this Nissan Z is truly meant for high speed and highly illegal runs, and it can get you into trouble really quick. Alright, so a lot of sports car owners will not admit to this, but one of the main reasons they buy a sports car is because of the attention that it gets. You see, if you don't want to get any attention, then you wouldn't buy this. You'd probably get a regular sedan instead. Now, the Nissan Z here will get its fair share of attention, especially in this squid yellow paint job, which, by the way, that's what they call it in Japan. This is squid yellow. And yes, it is a striking look and a striking color, but there are some design elements here that I'm not really too fond of. You see, I know that Nissan wanted to capture and incorporate some of the retro styling cues found in the earlier generation Zs. Like take for example, the shape of the LED DRLs here. Yeah, it's meant to look like the shape of the headlight housing found in the 240Z. And when you look at the rectangular front grille there, yeah, it also pays an homage to the first gen Nissan Z. However, here's my problem here. Yeah, the 240Z is a slim and sleek sports car, all right? While this Nissan Z here is, if we're being honest guys, it's a little bit on the chubby side, especially for this front fascia. You see, that rectangular front grille is just way too big, and we've got a lot of visual mass found here on the sides of the front bumper. And when you look at those, yeah, those LED headlight units, yeah, they kind of look like that of the eyes of an Android puppy or the eyes of Ultraman, depending on the angle that you're looking at it. Now, I know guys that this will not be a very popular opinion, but the way I'm seeing it, yeah, the front fascia design of the previous 370Z is way cooler than the front fascia design of this Nissan Z. Now, the side profile design received a massive improvement over the previous 370Z. You see, the door handles are now color keyed and no longer sticks out like a sore thumb. We also have a blacked out A-pillar here as well as the roof, which further reduces the visual mass of this Nissan Z when viewed from the side. Now, I also love that we have the Z badge found here on the rear quarter panel, which is a good throwback. And when you check out the wheels and tires, you'll see that we have 19-inch raised forged aluminum alloy wheels here in a staggered setup. Now, when you peek inside those wheels, you see that we have a 4-piston disc brake setup in the front and a 2-pot setup at the back. And for those of you who are concerned, well, the Nissan Z here has a ground clearance of 126 millimeters, which is pretty typical for a sports car. Now, that means that you should take it easy when you're going over speed bumps as well as steep inclines. Now, the rear end design of the Z is probably my most favorite design aspect for this sports car. You see, we have these gorgeous LED taillights here that are lifted from the retro design of the 300ZX, and we have the classic fastback design that all Zs are known for. Of course, we have this little ducktail spoiler here to complete that look, and when you pop open the trunk of this Nissan Z, you see that you have access to 241 liters of cargo space. Now, that doesn't seem like much, but I am going to answer one of the most important questions that most potential Z buyers are asking in their minds. Can a golf bag fit? You see, I brought my golf bag here. We have a stand bag right here, and as you can see, there you go. Let's put it there. There you go. The golf bag easily fits inside the trunk of the Nissan Z here, and we even have space for your locker bag, right here, and even a pair of golf shoes. So if you want to take your Nissan Z out for a nice round of golf in the country club, you can do that, pare, because it can easily fit. All right. So the cockpit of the Z received a massive upgrade over the previous 370Z in terms of tech. You see, while we still have the classic 3-row analog gauges here that shows you your turbo fan speed, boost, and voltmeter for your battery, well, the gauge cluster is now a 12-inch fully digital display. Now, I know some of the purists out there will not be too happy with that, but to its credit, pare, it does look pretty good. Now, the leather-wrapped steering wheel here has also received an update. We now have a tilt and a telescopic function there, so that's good news for taller drivers. And behind the wheel, we also have those GTR paddle shifters, as I said when I was driving this vehicle. Now, we also have really nice and comfortable seats here. These are quite supportive, and they are really comfortable, especially when you're going on a long drive. So you could really drive this every day if you want to, and you can also take this out on long drives, and it's not going to batter your body. Now, when you go over to the infotainment system here, we have an 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system that comes with all of the niceties that you'd expect from a modern vehicle, although I have several issues when it comes to this infotainment system. You see, while we have Apple CarPlay here and Android Auto, we only have to make do with a reverse camera, which in today's age of 360-degree view camera image and stuff like that, yeah, having just a reverse camera in a nearly 4 million Philippine peso sports car is really not gonna cut it, pal. It's not gonna cut it. Now, my second issue with this is the way that the screen is tilted, the way it's angled, or maybe it's just my height. I mean, I'm 5'6", but whenever I view this screen, I'm having a hard time seeing the display. You see, this angle invites glare, and although it seems like a minor issue, well, you will have to put some tint on your windshield in order to help combat that. Now, that, my friends, will affect my driving because, yeah, I often have Google Maps or Waze on my screen, and yeah, it's pretty tough to see the display based on the way it's angled, based on the glare that it is inviting. Now, my third and final issue with this infotainment system is the sound quality that's coming out from the Bose speaker setup. So yes, I know we have a Bose sound system here, but it's not really the best sounding in terms of audio quality. I mean, I've tested cars with a Bose speaker setup that sound much better than the one that we have here. So yes, even if these are Bose, I would definitely go to the aftermarket and do an aftermarket speaker upgrade to make the sound quality of these speakers sound much better. And that, my friends, is one of the first upgrades I'm gonna do if ever I own a Nissan Z. You know what else needs an upgrade? The exhaust. The 370Z with a stock exhaust sounded pretty good since it's an all-motor V6 which was allowed to breathe freely. Now, with the twin turbos of this new 3-liter V6, yeah, the exhaust note is a bit muffled and it sounds really quiet for a sports car. Now, if you don't believe me, pare, check out this sound clip. See, I told you. Good thing it's a quick aftermarket fix, just like the speakers. You'd also do yourself a favor by upgrading the exhaust or the speakers or both, because when you're on the highway, yeah, there's a little bit more highway road noise that's getting into the cabin than what I'd expect. Now, I'm quite surprised with that because I didn't really encounter that with the Nissan 370Z, or yeah, maybe I was just too busy admiring the all-motor V6 exhaust note, that sound of the 370Z, to pay attention to the road noise. Now, in case you're one of the boring folks out there who's concerned with fuel economy in a sports car, you will be glad to know that when driven sensibly, also known as boring, the Z can deliver a decent fuel economy number. You see, light city drives can return to you around 9 kilometers per liter, while a highway drive with an extremely light foot can return 15 kilometers per liter. Now, I had to use the adaptive cruise control of the Z in order to do that, in order to do my fuel economy runs, because it is so hard, it's practically torture for me not to drive this thing hard. You see, it just begs to be driven hard, and it just begs to be driven like you stole it, you know? Thankfully, the Z stays safe even while you're driving it really hard. You see, it comes equipped with Nissan's Intelligent Mobility, which is just Nissan's way of saying advanced driver assist aids, and you're now seeing the full suite on your screen. We also have a mechanical limited slip differential here, although I did notice that the Z kinda still favors the left rear wheel, especially when you're driving it under a heavy throttle. Now, that's best to keep that in mind, guys, especially if you want to do some J-turns in the Nissan Z or when you're driving it really hard on the track.
After a week of driving the Nissan Z, I can say that it has lived up to my expectations of what a proper Z car should be. It delivered a perfect mix of raw power, handling, and braking performance in a sports car that can be daily driven in comfort. The front-end design may not be my cup of tea, but it did succeed in its goal to pay an homage to the Zs of the past. Now, if I were to get one though, I would get it in granite black and, of course, a proper 6-speed manual transmission. Thanks for watching.